Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, leave your comments. And as always, for your real estate needs, make sure to follow Rafi the Realtor on Instagram. Make sure to follow my link in bio. Check out my link in bio for my weekly real estate newsletter in South Florida. So if you're looking to buy or sell, looking to invest, lease property, I am happy and enthused to help you. Moving along, today we have a Jordanian. This is an interesting one, folks. We have a Jordanian who supports Israel. Not only supports Israel, staunchly supports Israel. We don't hear too many of those on the Jewish side. Sam is here to tell us that it's actually not as rare as we think. So Sam is currently in the United States. I mean, we won't give too much information. We don't want everyone to know your whereabouts, but he travels. He's originally Jordanian and spends some of his time in the United States. He is a pharma executive, a pilot, somebody who knows quite a lot about geopolitics, a very intelligent guy. I'm going to get to know him more on this episode because we really don't know each other much. So we have Sam Dabaibeh here. Okay. And as some people in the United States, maybe their New York accents, they hear Dabaibeh right away and they're like, that's Dabaibeh. That's Dabaibeh, but he's really quite a grown young man. So I wouldn't really call him Dabaibeh. He's more like the adult. I got to practice my dad jokes, Sam. I'm a big dad jokes guy, man. I'm a corny dude. So hopefully you can appreciate that. But Sam, thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. It's I love your show. I've seen quite a few episodes and I'm really excited.
Awesome. I'm so honored that you knew about me before we even connected. I'm honored, man. Thank you. So I know you saw the one with Yishai, and since you saw the one with Yishai, we really have a lot of sauce to put on the pizza. So Sam, give us a little bit of your background, your upbringing, your
Uh,
background, who you are.
I'm from Jordan, a true Jordanian, not a Palestinian who has a Jordanian citizenship. My dad is in the Air Force. He's an officer. My grandfather was an officer in the Air Force. All of his brothers were officers in the Army. My grandfather was a war hero in the war in 1970 between the Palestinian terrorists and the Jordanians. Not a lot of people know about this, but the Palestinians, they committed crimes not only against Israelis, they committed the same crimes against Jordanians, Lebanese, Tunisians, even Syrians in the civil war 2011. So there's a lot of misconceptions in the West about where Arabs stand now with the Palestinian problem. I'm a pilot, but I work in pharma. I own a pharmaceutical company, and I want the best for my people in Jordan, and the best for everybody in the Middle East is for the Hamas group, Fatah, and every Palestinian terrorist group to get eliminated because they're just an arm for the IRGC to destroy the region.
Mm-hmm.
They cause as much harm to the Israeli families as much they cause the same harm to the Jordanian families and other Muslim families, the same to the Israelis. And I think the IDF and Netanyahu did a great job dismantling this terrorist group that destroys the Middle East.
It's so interesting to hear you say that, though. You know, what had you come to that conclusion? Was your family always, I guess you could say, pro-Israel, or at least not opposed to Israel?
I think in the whole Muslim community, not just in Jordan, there's an issue with Jews. There's an anti-Semitic issue, but after what happened in the civil war in Syria, after what we see how after what everybody saw how Palestinians sided with Iran against Sunnis in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, in Libya, the picture got clearer now. Now we see the Israelis were right when they said, "Oh, we wanted peace." The Palestinian propaganda is not working as much as it used to be. All the money that Qatar and Turkey spent spreading this propaganda stopped working anymore. So the way that I see the relationship between Jordan and Israel is very basic. I see it what benefits the Jordanians. When we work with Israelis, this is a case that I always tell Jordanians. In 1927, in the East Jordan Emirate, the first electric station that was built in Jordan was built by an Israeli engineer, by an Israeli company with Israeli engineers. They came to Jordan in 1927. They lived there for 3 years, built the station, finished the project, and got back. No one got hurt. There was no problem happened. Jordan benefited by having an electric station, and the Israelis did a great job, and we did not have any issues at the time. But after 1948 and what happened with the mobilization against Israel, the anti-Semitic rhetoric that we started saying, it caused all the Arab nations to lose. A lot of opportunities got missed by a lot of nations. The Palestinians have destroyed multiple countries. They actively work against the benefit of the governments and the people in the Middle East. And I think this has got very clear with the recent war, with what they did on October 7th, with the horrific, barbaric killing and the attack that they just did for the Iranian benefit. They did not benefit anything. The only one who got benefit is the Iranians, because they wanted to stop the peace between the Arab countries and the Israelis. So I think the picture now is very clear. Even if people don't want to say it, don't want to admit it, the Arab countries have benefited from the war against Hamas. And I think they should come out publicly and support it.
Right.
All the Arab governments.
Do you think they will?
No, because I think they have the wrong picture. They did not update their idea of what their people think. Before October 7th, I would say, yeah, the majority of Muslims were very anti-Semitic, very anti-Israel, and very pro-Palestinian. But after October 7th, that have changed. The people, especially the new generations in Saudi, in UAE, in Jordan, in Iraq, in Syria, they have a different picture from the one that our grandparents and our fathers had, because we have more technology now, we have more media now. You have to keep in mind, 20, 30 years ago, you only had Arabic channels who were supported by governments who wanted to spread propaganda against Israel. Now you have all this access to the information. Now you could see what the Palestinians actually think, what they actually say. And anyone that get fooled thinking that the Palestinians just want a state or they just want peace and dignity, it's just an idiot or just, not honest.
Right. So I have so many interesting points, and I want to play devil's advocate with you as well, because obviously people on the Israeli opposition are going to have questions for you, right? They're going to call you a traitor. They're going to tell you don't know what you're talking about. Do you feel, I mean, let's just kind of rapid fire this. I mean, we'll go into depth. We'll delve into these subjects, but I have so many things in my mind. When it comes to Palestinians, I mean, where do you think they stand as a people? We've said off camera that you believe that there's no reason for a Palestinian state. The Palestinians don't really exist as a group. If I'm
even if they existed, I'm against the Palestinian state from Jordanian perspective, because if we built a state on the border of 1967, you know what's going to happen the next day the state get established? It's going to be a Muslim brotherhood. Yeah, not just this. It's going to be a Muslim Brotherhood state. They're going to have Iranian officers there. They're going to attack Israel, but they're going to attack Sunnis in Syria. They're going to attack Sunnis in Jordan. They're going to attack Sunnis in Egypt. And it's just going to be another state that's controlled by Iran, spreading terrorism and hate. And the Palestinians will live a bad life, and everybody else. So it's a security risk for everybody on their border. No one honest and concerned about the safety of the people would want to see a state where the Muslim Brotherhoods or radical Palestinians are controlling. It's just going to be a boot camp for terrorists to attack Israelis and other Muslims too.
So why don't you believe that they can govern themselves in a peaceful way? What is it about them? Is it their hate for Jews? Is it their desire to take all of the land? Why do you believe that they're automatically going to resort to terrorism?
We have to believe facts. We have to believe facts. The AP, the Associated Press, and it's a very liberal newspaper, they ran a poll in October 14th, 7 days after October 7th. And at the time, all the news was about 40 beheaded babies, burned babies. This is what the news said. It doesn't matter if it's true or not now. At the time, that was true. They ran a poll with the Palestinians. 90% of them approved of October 7th and wanted Hamas to control the West Bank. And I understand Arabic. I see how the Palestinians comment. In Jordan, we have 3 million Palestinians, 2.3 million of them have citizenships. So I know how they think. We saw their protests in Jordan. They protested in Jordan. They said, uh, we want Hamas to take over Jordan. We want Hezbollah to take over Jordan. They saluted the Houthis, who are an enemy for Jordan. So that's what they said. And when a poll tell you that 90% of them approve of Hamas and approve of October 7th, when you see what they comment and you see the sentiment and what the influencers are saying, what the politicians, the Palestinian politicians are saying, you see universal agreement that what happened on October 7th is a good thing, and the Arabs are traitor for the Palestinians, are their enemy, and Iran is the ally that they have in the region. And this is the project that the average Palestinian, either in a refugee camp in Jordan, Lebanon, Gaza, or anywhere else, agree on. This is the sentiment, you know? It's just like saying, like, how do you know Saudis are not going to be Christians? It's just, you know, there's a lot of facts and evidence that tells you they're a Muslim nation.
So why do they all think this way? Why are they all so bent on supporting Hamas, destroying Israel? Why they haven't been succeeding for 76 years. Why do they still put so much time, energy, effort, sacrificing generations just in the hope of fighting a war or fighting a battle that they haven't been able to win?
Well, it's more nuanced than this. The Palestinians are the only nation that makes a lot of money when they have issues. Donations, UN money, UNRWA. This is very profitable for a lot of Palestinians. Every time a war happens or any problem happens to the Palestinian, the average Palestinian who lives in the West or who lives in other countries outside Palestine, they make a lot of money talking about what's happening, stealing donations. Uh, the UN spends a lot of money there. It's very beneficial. I'll tell you something really funny. The UNRWA pays the Palestinians who live in Jordan and have a Jordanian citizenship. They pay them $1,000 a month as an aid from the UN. So if you solve the Palestinian problem, even the normal average poor family in Palestine that lives in Jordan, Lebanon, or Syria, they're going to lose $1,000. And this is, you know,
A
this
thousand
is a
dollars
very,
is a lot of money. You're talking about a Jordanian
yeah,
yeah. I mean, $1,000 a month isn't. I wonder what that equals out to if you were to.
700 Jordanian dinars.
No. What I'm saying is I wonder what 1,000 American dollars is probably very strong in the
Oh
Jordanian
yeah,
economy.
the average salary, let's say the average salary for an average worker is 400 dinars. So you're almost taking the double. It's almost $500. They're taking the double
The
of the
average
average.
salary per month.
Yeah, for like a low skilled worker, like a painter or
Wow,
anyone who works with their
wow. So
hands.
they're
But the
making
country's
double.
cheap. Yeah, and like rent is like $100 a month.
Oh, they're living
Uh,
nice.
so yeah, they could live. They could live very comfortably even if they did not work, and they also work. So they're making as much money from the UNRWA as much as they're making from their salaries.
Who knew,
And
man? The Palestinians in Jordan are living better than a lot of Americans in the U.S. The Americans
oh
in the
yeah,
U.S.
yeah,
are all on credit, and they're in who knows how much student debt. These guys are living large. Look at this. I
they
didn't
have
know
a
this.
free healthcare from the UNRWA. They have free housing from the UNRWA. What the people call refugee camps now with just normal houses, and you probably have the same thing in the West Bank where it's just normal housing, but they call it a refugee camp. We have the same thing in Jordan. They started the refugee camps in the 50s. Now they're just houses with buildings and people are living good. Uh, so it's very financially beneficial to keep this problem on and on. But there's something else. Uh, the way that the Palestinian identity was built is an anti-Israeli identity. You know, the whole
Absolutely.
nation states is a new idea. It's very
Right.
recent. So when the Israelis built it, you guys built it. You want a home for yourself and you want to develop it and have it. The Jordanians did the same thing. The Saudis did the same thing. The idea of the nation was I want to benefit my fellow countrymen. This is how the idea of our countries was built. The idea of the Palestinian identity was built on I want to kick the Israelis out. And it doesn't matter if you give them land or not. It doesn't. The identity is built about being anti-Israel, so it will never end unless Israelis are end it. This is how the
I
people grew up.
man, I wish there's so many Jews that don't get this through their thick, stupid heads. And it takes an Arab to understand this. And a lot of you do. You guys, I mean, you guys all understand it, honestly. Some of you are just on our side, and some of you are on the other side, and some of you are our enemies. But most of you understand that giving away land, the whole concept of it is insane. Why would you give something away that you believe is actually yours?
And
The,
the only reason why a lot of Jews think, a lot of like liberal Israelis think this, is just because they're not familiar with the conflict. If the Palestinians just wanted the land, if that was the issue, land and dignity, that was the issue. Why did they start a civil war in Jordan? Where they had
right,
citizenship, there was no difference between Jordanian and Palestinian. They started a civil war there. They started a civil war in Lebanon,
right,
and they did not have a claim to the land there, and they still fought to kick the
right.
Jordanians out. So it's the
So what
people
is it
just don't
then?
want to admit how bad it is.
Well, I
I would
think, yeah,
I would tell you a story that will explain the thing for someone who doesn't know how the Palestinians grew up. When I was a kid, my parents grew up telling me, "Oh, you want to be the most generous man. You want to help people. You want to help your cousins, your family, your tribe. This is how we grew up. This is the thing that your parents teach you when you grow up." You know what the Palestinians do, and this is in every single case because it's a society thing, it's a community thing. They take their kids when they're 5 years old, 6 years old, to the hills in Jordan or the top of the mountains. They point at Israel and they say, "Oh, the Jews kicked us out of there. We'll come back and kill them." And then they turn and point at Jordan and say, "The Arabs helped them, and we're gonna kill the Arabs after we do this to the Israelis." And this is a society thing. If you want to be a good citizen, if you want to be a good Palestinian, how can you prove this? You have to be the most anti-Israel person.
for sure.
This is, I don't think any other nation in history had this thing where the thing that makes you the most patriotic is the hatred of the of another country.
There's a human psychology thing. It's a bravado. It's a machismo. It's I'm the strongest, toughest, most honorable one of all. It's we have this in cultures in the United States, to be honest. I'm not afraid to say it. We have this issue in aspects of Latin culture and Black culture. And I say this lovingly. It's just that they're like who's the biggest gangster, who's the biggest thug. It's and I'm not saying that for everybody, but it's a human nature thing to some degree. And you either use your competitiveness to do good things, or you use your competitiveness to be kind of the worst you could be. And depending on
But you
how
know the
that
difference,
society,
what?
huh?
You know the difference between what you're saying, the Latin community and Black community? These communities, you want to be bad against everybody else, not a specific sect of people. The Palestinians have it specifically against Israelis. So it's not
Oh
just you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
be
yeah.
tough against everybody. No, you want to be tough against the Israelis and you want to kick them out. That's how the identity is
That's
formed.
true.
That's
It's
why
not. It's
it's
not
unique about it.
against a specific group. That's true.
Yeah.
But it was more. The example was more to say, I want to be the biggest gangster because that's how I'll get respect.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
putting,
Yeah.
and I'm
This
not
is how
trying
you'll
to
be more
focus on
honorable.
specific ethnic groups, but I just have to call it what it is, right? Like they'll, it's not. I'm not saying anything revolutionary, and I'm not here to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah.
It's not okay. Um, the honor is the biggest issue. The Palestinian honor, and to a degree, I'll say Arab honor, and not everybody, but I think there's a component to that where they're unwilling to accept the fact that the Yahud who used to be a dhimmi, who used to be second class, who they were able to kind of step on and control when needed, now is not only a second class citizen or a dhimmi, but in fact is in many ways more powerful than them, militarily, economically, definitely more educated. They're beating them in every class, and that's a huge blow to your psyche, right? To your
But
confidence.
but I'll tell you why. I definitely see this when I talk to Jordanians. But here's the difference between every single Arab and the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the Jordanians, I tell them, look, would you rather to lose your brothers and sisters and kids fighting the Israelis but win, or would you rather to build Jordan and make a rich country and live a good life? No one would say I would sacrifice my brothers and sisters, and my actual brother and my actual kid and my actual dad. No one would say that. It will be a
Mm-hmm.
crazy statement to make. But for the Palestinians, they truly hate Israelis more than they love their family.
So you don't think there's any Jordanians in the country that if the Jordanian army mobilized on Israel, they wouldn't? I mean, saying there's got to be
They would
Jordanians.
they would if they made it as a defense war.
Right.
But if there's no threat to Jordan, if you give them an ultimatum, you tell them, look, you have two choices. You either go on a full-on war with Israel and fight and see what happens, or you have Jordan, you have full control over your borders, and you could build your country and make it a good country. No one would choose to go fight Israel over building their country.
Right.
People look at them bad. Even if someone said it, the average Jordanian will look at him and is like, what? You would rather to fight Israel than build Jordan? It's a very treasonous thing. So you
So
hate people more than you love your own country?
yeah, it's crazy. But Sam, let me ask you, because I said I was gonna play devil's advocate. So I have to,
Yeah.
for my own knowledge, because I also want to sit. To me, I don't meet a lot of people like you. So part of my brain, I'm just being very honest, is saying like, are you really who you say you are? Like I
Hey,
really think.
I'm famous. I'm famous in Jordan. My family are famous.
Yeah,
So
I think you're genuine, but part of me is like, I can't believe I'm having these conversations. And it's amazing how much chemistry we have because I don't have to explain anything to you. You know everything. It's
oh
amazing.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I have a very big nuance, and I understand that the making the problems very basic is not how it is. This is why we're still Jordanians. I'll tell them, look, we have an anti-Semitic problem in the whole Muslim community,
well,
not
it's
in
funny
just
saying
Jordan.
anti-Semitic. I feel like we should coin a new term because we're not the only Shamis in the region, but I knew what you mean.
No, but the concept started in Germany,
Yeah, yeah,
mentioning
yeah,
just
yeah,
Jews.
yeah.
So this is the thing. So we have a hatred for Jews, unfortunately, in the Muslim society, and this is in Jordan, Saudi, Pakistan, Egypt, everywhere. But still, this hatred is not more important than your kids. No one would say that. No one would say I would rather to lose my country and see my family in a refugee camp and look at them losing everything. Uh, just to, to kill few Israelis.
Right,
You know, this is a unique thing that it's only for the Palestinians because the psychic and the mentality and the identity of the Palestinians was built on hating Israel. So
right.
if you want to be the best Palestinian, you want to be the most hated Palestinians from the Israelis. This is how we become the most patriotic Palestinian. But if you want to be the most patriotic Jordanian, you have to be the best for Jordan. That's why a lot of people love King Hussein, even though that he made peace with Israel. He was very beloved in Jordan. Uh, but look at the Palestinians who wanted to make peace with Israel; they're hated by the society, and this is the difference. So when King Hussein came and he said, "No, I'm doing this peace for my kids, for your kids, for the kids of Jordan to live a better life," people understood this and they valued this. And even the
Mhm.
most religious, radical ones, they said, "Yeah, we can't go publicly and say we hate Israelis more than we love our own." Uh, and I think we need more. A lot of Jordanians and a lot of Arabs have never met an Israeli before. They've never talked to an Israeli before, and this is a very important thing that they don't know how similar we are and how we have a really, really close culture to each other, and we have a lot of interest to be united, not just united, to have like a true peace, even if we did not like it. There's a lot of benefits to be gained there, but they don't know this because they never spoken to an Israeli before. They see the propaganda about how the Israelis want to kill them, how the Israelis want to enslave them, how the Israelis want to take over their country. So this is why they have this unreasonable hatred towards Israel. But
Right.
when they go talk to Israelis and build a bridge between Israelis and their own, they start saying, "Oh, they're very similar to us. They're very Middle Eastern. We have a very similar culture. We're both very religious. We're very spiritual. There's a lot of things that we have similar, more than things that we do not have similar."
For sure. For sure.
I had an Israeli guest on one of my lives, and my lives in TikTok are the biggest in Jordan. I sometimes get like 10,000 viewers, and you know Jordan's not a big country. He speaks Arabic fluently. He's a settler in Judea,
What's his name?
and I will send you his account. He was really shocked when he got on the live. The majority of Jordanians agreed with him, and he told me like I've never thought that was the case. Like he's saying how people are commenting, he could read Arabic too, and he saw what the people were saying, what the Palestinians were saying, Israelis are the enemy, and he was shocked. He was like, "That's not what we see in the media. That's not what people tell us." And I told him before October 7th, yeah, things were bad, but now things really changed.
So what
I,
is it? Is it the Would it still be the same if the Israelis were losing this war?
Yeah. It was before it was after October 7th immediately, before how things looked. People
Uh-huh.
start
So
looking
what
at the
changed?
Palestinians
So
different.
so okay, so what was the turning point?
I'll tell you what. In 2020, I wrote an article. I said, and the article is still on in Lebanese newspaper. I said, as Jordanians, we should ally with Israel against Iran and the Palestinians. At that time, no Jordanians stood with me. They agreed with me. And no one liked what I was saying. The Palestinians in Jordan had a protest in one of the universities against what I said. Now my videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views, and a lot of Jordanians agree. And people in the government, people who were ex-officers of the military, people who were in the parliament, they're telling me, you were right what you said in 2020, and we were mistaken. The turning point was you have to understand how Sunnis in Jordan and Saudi and UAE started looking at Iran after what happened in Syria. Iran sent militants in Syria and they
Hmm.
did the most horrific, horrible crimes to Syrians, killing them by their last name just because they're Sunnis, the torture, the ethnic cleansing, insane crimes that Iran did in Syria. So people start saying Iran is actually worse than Israel.
Hmm.
That's what was the average Sunni is saying. And when the Palestinians publicly allied with Iran after what happened in Syria, that made people think, oh, what's stopping the Palestinians from allying with Iran against me?
Right.
They allied with the Iranians against the Syrians. What's the difference between a Syrian, Jordanian, an
That's what I
Emirati,
don't
and a Saudi?
get. Why are the Iranians playing this game? The Iranians are Shia. I mean, they don't even isn't the Karbala their zone, their place? Like, what do they have anything to do? Is it
I
just
think helping the Palestinians, it's a way to clean their picture of what they did in Syria. They did a lot of crimes in Syria. People start saying Iran is worse than Israel, so Iran had to improve their picture and improve how people look at them. So they start helping the Palestinians to make themselves look better in the
so you're
Sunni
saying
eyes.
that initially as Shias they wanted to simply kill Sunnis?
And in Syria, they did that. Yeah,
Okay.
That's how people saw them. Like in 2012, you ask the Sunnis, "What do you think about Iran?" They say, "Oh, they're just killing Syrians, and they're killing them in a very horrific way." That's how people thought in 2012. Now Iran starts saying that they start being liked, and people start saying they're worse than Israel. So they started becoming the enemy number one of the people of the Sunni countries. So they said the best way to whitewash what we did in Syria, is to support the Palestinians, because people hate Israel, a lot of emotions there. If we support the Palestinians, that will make us get whitewashed, and that worked with some nations, like people in Morocco, people in Libya, people in Algeria. They started looking to Iran as a good factor after what happened October 7th. They said, okay, they did a mistake in Syria, but now they have fixed their mistake and they're helping our brothers and sisters in Gaza. So
Right.
that did work with the nations who live far away from the conflict of Syria,
Okay.
but the countries really close to Syria, like Jordan, Saudi, UAE, it made us think, oh, the Palestinians and the Iranians are bad for the region.
It's just so interesting because Shias and Sunnis have had such bad bad relationships. They've slaughtered each other for so long, but Jews seem to bring them together to some extent. Yeah.
I don't think that happened. I don't think that worked with Jordanians. It didn't work with Syrians. It didn't work with the Gulf countries. They still say no, but Iran did in Syria is unforgettable, and we are unforgivable too. And Palestinians became started seen as a part of Iran after how they allied publicly with Iran after what they did in Syria. And you got to keep in mind, after October 7th, the nasty, vile messages that the Palestinians were spewing against the Arab countries, the Arab armies, the Arab militaries, it made people really turned against them. They said, okay, you're
Mhm.
cursing the Saudis, you're cursing the Jordanians, you're cursing the Syrians. People start saying, like, well, you're not that special. We're not going to sacrifice our families and countries for you. When you publicly support Iran too.
Yeah.
So that have changed. I'm telling you, 70% of the youth is pro-Israeli, anti-Palestinian, and this is what I was really shocked and surprised.
70% of Jordanian youth?
Jordanian, Saudi, UAE, the majority of them. When I say the word Jordanian, I'm not including the
That is
Palestinians
so
who have.
crazy. I mean, I'm not.
Uh,
It's not crazy because it
you could
honestly.
you could watch my videos and see the comments and see the views and
Do you
people.
think? Do you think that the voices like mine are making an impact? Do you think voices like mine, Yishai, and other people are actually getting through to Arab viewers and listeners, even if it's not in Arabic? Do you think they're
Uh,
translating?
I don't think they watch this kind of. I'll tell you, you'll be surprised. The main reason why people turned against Hamas and the Palestinians is what the Palestinians are saying. The Palestinians themselves. So
Oh,
the
that's crazy.
Palestinians who live in America, the Palestinians who live in Jordan, who live outside of Israel and Gaza, if in their lives and their social media, they're cursing the Arab militaries and they're cursing the Arab countries, and they're saying, "Oh, you guys are cowards. You guys are." It started like a civil war because people are saying, "Why did you ally with Iran?" And they say, "Oh, you guys are cowards. That's why we allied with Iran," and that
Right.
have put the true feelings for both sides in front of each other. So even if someone doesn't like Israel, now they do not like Palestine as well.
So it's not that they love Israel, but it's that they really don't like Palestinians.
Yeah,
So let me
yeah.
so here's some of my beliefs. I believe that when Jewish leaders and Jews in general, right? So Jewish liberals, for example, when they apologize and appease and try to offer land, the Arab world doesn't respect them. The Arab world says you guys are phonies. This land doesn't seem to belong to you. It doesn't seem like you care about what the Torah says, what
Oh yeah, you're not serious about it. Yeah.
you're not serious. You're willing to give away part of something you fought for that God promised you. It must not be very important to you. So give all of it away. Why are you holding on to any of it? And Yisha made this point. There's another rabbi that makes this point. It's when you offer land to Palestinians, the Palestinians are saying, "Who are you to offer me my land?"
It's
Get what I'm
it's not
saying?
just this. It's not just as I told you. The Palestinian identity is built about being anti-Israel. It's not going to change, and this is how the identity was built. Unless they get a new identity with a different name, then this thing will
I don't
change.
need the identity to change. See, the thing
But
is I'm not naive and stupid. I don't need the identity to change. I need Jews and the Israeli leadership to stop being a bunch of
I
uh
think the solution, and this is, I've talked about this in Arabic and in English, and you could watch my videos. And actually, the videos that I made, and you'll be shocked about what I say, but when I make these videos in Arabic, I get a better response than when I make it in English. When I make it in English, they said this is impossible. No, Arabs will not agree. When I make this kind of suggestion, the Arabs really like it, especially Jordanians. Here's what I said. I said all the moderate Arab countries should get along with Israel, start a new peace deal. The Arab countries will recognize Judea and Samaria and Gaza as an Israeli land.
sure.
Now you have 4 million Palestinians roughly inside the new Israeli land. They do not qualify to get a citizenship because the Israeli law does not guarantee citizenship to everybody. So they have two choices. They either live as Bidun, who are people without citizenship, so they can't get a driver license, they can't open a bank account, they can't get an ID, or they get relocated in 70 different countries. The issue with Israel, they want to send too many Palestinians, push them to Jordan or push them to Egypt. That's not going to change anything. If you push the Palestinian from the West Bank to Jordan, he's going to still be radical. And now he could control Jordan, have border with Iraq and border with Iran. So you're fighting against the Persian Empire again. It's not going to
Right.
fix anything. The Palestinians is not going to become less radical. It's not going to hate Hamas. It's not going to hate killing innocent civilians just because they're Jewish, because he moved 10 kilometers to the east. That's not going to change. The only way to solve this issue, you have 70 different countries who could take them. And I've talked to diplomats from these countries, and they said they're open to the idea. For example, you have Indonesia. It's a Muslim country and it has 200 million citizens. They said, we will take 150,000 Palestinian if the International World Bank give us loans, and there's an incentive to take them. So you send 150,000 to Indonesia. The more religious Palestinians, 300,000, they could go to Afghanistan. The less religious people, the atheists, the people who want to party, 70,000 to Colombia, 50,000 to Peru, 150,000 to Brazil. With these kind of numbers, it's not going to cause any problem to the hosting countries because they're big and the Palestinians will melt there. They will have a
Right.
new
So Sam, I have a
identity.
few questions. I have a thought
Yeah.
though. I have a thought. What do you say to people that say, why the hell should they go anywhere? Well, let's play devil's advocate right now, right? Let's say, why should a quote unquote Palestinian who has family there for 10 generations, why should they leave and go to another country when a Jew that's family came from the Holocaust should be in the West Bank and they should leave?
Here's what I say as a Jordanian, and I think Israelis do not use this thing and they should use it. The duty of the Israeli government and the duty of the Jordanian government is not to make everybody happy. It's to protect their citizens. When a group of people harvest terrorists, help them, aid them to attack the kids and families of innocent people, your duty is not to make sure that these societies that harvested the terrorists are feeling good. Your duty is to protect your citizens. When you talk about the hostages, you're not talking about the 100 people who are there. You want to make sure no one else get kidnapped. You want to make sure the 7 million Israelis do not kidnap again. This is the duty of your government. I get shocked when they say, "Oh, it's just 100 people." No, you're protecting your. This is the same thing in Jordan. We had terrorist attacks that happened from Hamas in 2005. They bombed when Jordan kicked out the Hamas offices. The Hamas retaliated, and they bombed a hotel in Jordan. Now, the duty of the Jordanian government is to make sure the 4 million, 5 million Jordanians, they're not going to get hurt again. That's the duty of your government. It's not to make sure that the enemy, who's maybe an innocent enemy, who did not get his blood on his hand, feeling good. That's not your duty. Your duty is to protect the new generations of the Israelis and Jordanians, and that's why I'm against establishing an Israeli state. Because if we Palestinian state, because if we did that, the safety and the livelihood of my kids and their kids will be in danger. And my duty is to protect them, not to
You're
solve the
100%
Palestinian
right.
issues, not to make them happy. That's not my problem. When here's the thing about the Palestinians too.
That's
The
our issue,
last
by the way. But Sam, the problem with, and this has been our issue for a long time, and it's largely because Jewish people haven't had sovereignty for thousands of years. We haven't ruled a country until now. For since what land did we have before we had this one?
Oh yeah, it was 2,800 years ago.
No, but which land
The
did
kingdom
we
of
have?
Israel and Judea.
Yeah, pretty sure it was the same land. That was the last land
Yeah.
we had. I'm just saying we didn't rule any other land. So we're not used to this. And the whole world is watching us and they're like, how are you going to do
But
this?
you guys, here's the thing about the Israelis, especially the leftists. You guys have to know. It doesn't matter what you do. They'll attack you.
I know. I
Like,
see. I'm asking you these questions, Sam, and I have the answers, but it's hearing you say them is because, dude, I've been saying these things, and there's so many Israeli leaders and Israeli people and like Jewish content creators, and they're like, but we just want peace and we're all family and we get along and blah 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 blah. Just this butterfly language, and they're
you
not
guys
willing to
have a really
say.
similar issue to Jordan. In 1968, the Prime Minister of Jordan sent a complaint to the Arab League because the PLO fighters were terrorizing Jordanian citizens, shooting guns. That was 2 years before the civil war. The Jordanian Prime Minister was complaining. He was saying the Palestinians that you guys gave them weapons and they're living inside Jordan, they're shooting against our citizens and they're robbing people, they're killing people. And Jordan kept complaining for 2 years, and people were saying, no, no, you're lying. That's not like they did not care because it's not their citizens. They say, okay, you guys could get along, get along, get along. And then in 1970, Jordan had the war. We kicked out the 20,000 Palestinian fighters, 20,000 of them got killed. We won the war. The Arab countries attacked Jordan, and they said, "Why did you guys do this? This is treasons. You guys are anti-Arab. Why did you kill the Palestinians?" And then the Prime Minister of Jordan got so mad. He went to Cairo and he said, "When I was complaining for 2 years that the Palestinians were killing innocent Jordanian civilians, you guys did not do anything. And when we fixed it, you guys got mad. If you do not want to take the Palestinians, you can't comment." The Prime Minister of Jordan told the Prime Minister of
Oh my
Sudan, if you're
God,
really
dude.
mad about the Palestinians, take them, and then Jordan is not going to attack them, it's not going to talk about them, but take them. Well, if you are not ready to take this risk and bring it to your nation, you don't have the qualifications to talk.
100%. You see, Sam, it even says this in the Old Testament in the Torah that one of our strengths and weaknesses is mercy. And the fact is we have a very hard time. We're very smart. We're a very smart nation. We're very capable, and we have a very powerful military. But we're merciful to a fault. We keep believing our enemy, and even when our enemy says very clearly that they want to kill all of us, we try
Yeah,
to tell them
make
no, that's not what
excuses.
you don't really want to do that. And they're like, yes, we do. We actually want to slaughter all of you. Like, you can't do that. There's got to be another solution. And they're like, no, we literally want you to all get the fuck out of here. And they're like, and the Jews, we keep, not we, because I'm not part of these Jews that believe this. We have these liberal Jews, and unfortunately, some of these Israeli leaders that are like, but we'll try to do the same stupid thing that didn't work for the last 50 years.
But here's what you should tell them.
Maybe somehow it'll work now.
Here's what you should tell them. If the Palestinians just wanted the land, why did they start a civil war in Jordan?
Right.
No one with them would know
It's
how
a
to
really
answer this. And I've talked to them multiple times. No one with them would know how to answer because they just have this unrealistic, dumb idea and perspective of how the Palestinians think. They think the Palestinians are just broke, poor people that get sanctions and they get checkpoints because they're brown, and that's not realistic. The terrorist attacks in Israel became before the checkpoints. The checkpoints were a reaction to the terrorist attacks. Any Israeli, and this is my true opinion, any Israeli that want to establish a Palestinian state, either on the border of 1967, or in Sinai, or in Lebanon, or in Syria, or in Jordan, is a suicidal treasonist. If you give the Palestinians a state and it's next to Israel, they will attack your kids. They will attack your family.
I mean, it's the most obvious thing in the world.
You do, yeah. It's just a suicidal thing. It's not you being peaceful. It's you sacrificing your people, and this is not peaceful. You're literally jeopardizing the livelihood of your people because you don't want to piss off Algeria and Morocco.
Okay, so let me ask you right now: if you were the new Israeli prime minister right now, what would you do?
I will do the same plan that I said. I will get with the moderate Arab countries. I will say, look, Judea and Samaria, Gaza, recognized as an Israeli land. For the Palestinians who live inside it, you guys have two choices, and that's it. And the Palestinians the reason why the Palestinians keep fighting, keep building rockets and attacking civilians, because the Arab nations are giving them this fake hope that they can have a country. When this hope dies, the mentality gonna change because they're gonna know, oh, we fucked up our bed.
Sam,
now
it is amazing. Like I said, brother, I if I keep hearing Arab voices like yours, man, then we actually can solve this conflict.
Oh, like, yeah, I think it's very doable in the next few years.
We can solve this
we
can solve this conflict, and the truth is we just need a Jewish leader who has enough balls to actually do it.
But the Arabs have to get involved with it too, so it doesn't look like it's Palestinians against Israelis. It has to be Middle Easterns against terrorism. This is how the fight should
and the truth is, Israel is going to get demonized. It's going to hurt them in the short term.
Not if they work publicly with Jordan and Saudi and UAE.
And you think a lot of Palestinians will leave willingly?
I asked an ex-parliament in Jordan. I told him, like, how are you going to convince the Palestinians to leave? He told me, look, Israel needs some workers, so they're going to need 20% of them, at least. They could give them green cards or a kind of residence. The other 80%, here's what you do: when they lose the hope that there's no hope for a Palestinian state, the violence will get less because there's no you're just doing a suicide mission now. There's no clear path to establishing a state anymore. So this is going to get less, but you're still going to have some terrorists. Israel has to be strict. Anyone with connections to any terrorist group, deported. It's not up to you. You commit a crime, you get prosecuted, and you get deported. Now, with the other 80%, the people who are very anti-Israel, they have no place there. They're ticking bombs inside Israel. What are you going to do with them? This is what you tell them. There's no citizenships. You're not going to get it. The Israeli law does not hand out citizenships left and right. This is not how countries work. You either live inside Israel without a citizenship, without an ID, you can't get a driver license, you can't get a bank account, You can't get. You're just living there the same way that
That's
the
how it is. That's how it is in Dubai. I'm pretty sure. Or
yeah,
yeah,
the dudes in Saudi and Kuwait, the people who came from Iraq in the 70s thinking that they're gonna get a citizenship, but they lived there for a long time. At the end, you know what happened? Kuwait kicked them out, not to Iraq. They gave them citizenship to some African country, and they went there because they lost hope, and this is what's gonna happen. So you tell them, look, you're either gonna stay there without a citizenship, without an ID, and you're just gonna live like an illegal alien, or you're gonna get relocated to the country that you choose, and you have a lot of financial incentive to do it. There's a
right.
lot of loans. There's a lot of ways to go out and live, and it's gonna be a good life. And this is gonna be better for the Palestinian kids. And instead of forcing these kids to live under these monster parents that want to sacrifice them, and instead of letting these people live under a government that, like the Palestinian Authority, who has a martyr fund for anyone that commits a terrorist attack, instead of this, they're gonna live in Peru, they're gonna live in Argentina, Colombia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Indonesia, and have a better life. It's better for the Israelis, better for Jordanians, better for Saudis, better for Egyptians, and better for the Palestinians themselves.
Right.
And what's going to happen when they lose this insane, ridiculous two-state solution hope? They're going to adapt the new identity. The people who are going to go to Colombia, they're not going to be Palestinians for long. The first generation going to change and become a Colombian because they
Right.
know the project had failed. UNRWA was not going to give money anymore. And trust me, the amount of money that Palestinians make being refugees is very, very profitable. They're making more money than Lebanese. They're making more money than Egyptians, Syrians, and Iraqis. It's very
Yeah.
financially nice to be a refugee under the UNRWA. You're
What's
making a lot
also
of money.
interesting, what's
You're not
also
working.
interesting is that we're so up in arms about quote unquote Palestinians. I always say quote unquote, but about them going to different countries, but yet Jewish people, that's all we knew. All we knew was going from country to country to country to country to country. We had to constantly have develop a new identity. You had a Jew who was initially from Judea who went to let's say went to Iraq and then
Ethiopia,
went to Syria
Morocco.
and then went to Algeria and then went to France and then went to
And
Israel
you
and then
guys
went
did
to the
not
United
commit
States.
terrorist attacks.
Huh?
You did not attack your neighbors. That did
Yeah.
not happen. It's not like the Jews in Syria started attacking the Muslim neighborhoods
Right.
the same way that the Palestinians are doing. But this is what I want the Israelis to do, and this is what I always do. Don't give up the ground. When people talk to me about this, oh, this is not ethical, they're not going to be happy. I'll tell them, look, I'm not going to be happy when a Palestinian bomb a hospital. I'm not going to be happy when a Palestinian bomb a mosque or do a suicidal mission inside one of my cities in Jordan, or when they stab someone. And you Israelis should say the same. Well, they're not going to be happy? Good, because I'm not going to be happy when I see a grandmother get stabbed by a Palestinian. Why are their
Yeah.
why are their emotion more important than the livelihood of innocent people?
Sam for president, man. It's
I
dude.
think it should. I think we should do it at the same time. Jordan and Israel, we should do it at the same time. And if Spain, Ireland, South Africa, Algeria don't like it, send us our military and let's see. Let's put them to the spot
And
and say, you know
Ireland
what?
talks
Yeah,
about
let's
how
see.
much they're so supportive, but so take them. At least take a few hundred thousand at least.
Yeah. No, we will. I want to see. I really want to see the Algerians and South Africans what they're going to say because I'm living under the Palestinian terrorism. You're living under the Palestinian terrorism. We have less opportunities. We have less development because of what they're doing. So I'm not taking the comment of someone who lives thousands of miles away about what I should do. Yeah, if any other nation got their citizen hunted and stabbed and run over by cars, no one gonna expect them to be nice. No one gonna expect them to think, oh, some of them are good people, and I've never met a good Palestinian, but I've never met a peaceful Palestinian because the identity is built about being anti-Israel. But let's see, this ridiculous mythical creature exists. Yeah, I'm not risking the livelihood of my kids and my family and development of my
Of
country
course.
because there is an hypothetical, mythical Palestinian creature who wants peace.
Right.
Uh, the Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas in 1993, after Oslo, he went to the Jordanian TV,
What
and
language
people were
did you say
mad.
he speaks again?
No, that was Abbas. Abbas speaks Farsi.
How does a bus? I don't get it. He's Iranian. What's his deal?
Yeah, he's Baha'ist. His family came to Israel in 1890 after when the Jews started coming back and they started building new communities. A lot of people in the Middle East
Yep.
had more jobs in the Ottoman Empire because the Jews brought a lot of money. You had a lot of farms being built, a lot of buildings being built. So
I
there
know
was a
all
lot
about
of
it. I know all about it.
yeah.
Yes.
So this is how his family came. Like they came after the Jewish immigrants. So this is so funny. Uh, but here's what I'm saying: the Palestinian, and this is the Fatah, which is the liberal, nice Palestinians. So he went to the Jordanian TV in 1993, and he said, "Don't get mad from Oslo. This is Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, and Sulh al-Hudaybiyah is agreement that the Muslims did with the non-Muslims, and they only did it to build their army and attack the next year, and that's what happened. So they did the agreement for peace with the non-Muslims in Mecca." They built their army for that year, that was peace, and they attacked them the next year. So when the president of Palestine are saying publicly, "Oh, I'm just," like he's admitting that I'm just doing this peace deal so I could have more time to build a military that could destroy Israel. It's just a treasonous. If you're an Israeli and you say, "Oh, let's build this two-state solution," at this point you're just treasonous. If you say, "Let me build them a state in Sinai, state in Syria, state in Lebanon, state in Jordan, next to your border," you're just treasonous because you're gonna have October 7th happening 1,000 times. That's not what I said. That's what the Hamas leaders are saying. They say we're gonna do it again, and when they get here's the thing: when you reward them with money, with the UNRWA, with media, with the financial opportunities for everybody that do these crimes, why would they stop? This is how their economy is building.
It's oh my God. It's just crazy to me, Sam, that you're telling me what you're telling me, and that I'm here as you're saying this to me. I'm thinking about the Jews, the liberal Jews. They're like the two states solution's the only way. I'm like, you're so stupid. You're such a stupid. It's such a stupid. You know what I mean? It's
No, if you build a two-state solution, the next day they're gonna have factories that built meth, so they could sell meth for everybody and make a lot of money to buy weapons. They're gonna have a lot of weapons there,
the
and it's gonna
attacks
get
would
more
happen right
bloody.
away, and they
It's
would
gonna get
happen
more bloody.
so much worse. We'd have less security borders. I mean, I don't even want to have the conversation because it's so stupid. There's
And the Palestinians who are inside Israel and they have an Israeli citizenship, they will get more violent. They did not participate in October 7th because they got scared of the reaction of the Jewish society. But trust me, if they saw that there's a chance, they will start attacking.
creating two states tells every enemy of Israel that there is an opportunity to wipe us off the map. The war has allowed them to gain more territory. Now they can continue fighting this war to get even more territory. The more territory they get, even if it takes another 200 years, it's a slow, gradual war of attrition. And eventually they can weaken us enough to take the whole thing. And the fact that there are Jews that are too fucking stupid to understand this, it blows my
It's
mind.
just too lazy. It's too lazy. You're not gonna solve the issue. You're just gonna make it bigger. And it's just too easy and too ignorant, and you're sacrificing the livelihood of the people just to make yourself feel good for a few months. It's insanity. I will tell you something. I think Israelis could fix their issue with Jordan if we had more connections. The average Jordanian, you know why they hate Israel the most? It's not anti-Semitism, it's not Palestinians. It's just the Palestinians always translate videos of some Israelis who are saying, we're going to kick the Palestinians out to Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Jordanians do not like Palestinians. We live in a segregated communities in Jordan. The
Do you say,
Palestinians
by
and
the way,
Jordanians,
a real honest question? Who does the Arab world? Because there's probably a hierarchy of Arabs in the Arab world. Who give me kind of like a list of who's at the top of the Arab world in terms of like social class, in terms of who people see as the most prestigious, and who are at the bottom.
I'll be honest, no one likes each other. The Egyptians do not like anyone else. Like if you ask an Iraqi who's best, they go. So it depends where are you. The Syrians they think the Saudis are not as advanced as them, and the Saudis think the Syrians are poor. The Egyptians think the Saudis are not advanced. So it's not united in that sense. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. But now every nationalist movement in every
But
Arab country.
you guys all looked at the Palestinians as like the bottom of the barrel, no? Wasn't that always the thing?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Also, you gotta keep in mind when you live with the Palestinian refugees, you see how the crime, when you have a society that elects Hamas to be the government, that tells you a lot of things about the society, that they're not serious, they're not peaceful. So when you live with the society, you see how they scam, they steal the UNRWA.
Because it
Uh,
developed, and also
yeah, yeah.
the international community bred that kind of you. When you
They
give a
incentivize being a
population,
scammer.
sorry,
They incentivize being a scammer. There
100%,
was a lot. Yeah,
you give by giving people aid, by not forcing them to go through their own enlightenment, to go through their own suffering, meaning they're suffering, don't get me wrong, but
and none of the people outside of Israel, they're having a lot of fun. They have a lot of fun. They're in
well, also
TikToks
the Israeli
cursing the
Arabs,
Arabs and acting they're winning.
the Jew, the Arab Muslims and the Arab Christians with Israeli citizenship, the ones that aren't causing any violence, many of them are doing very well. Some of them, many of them, don't pay taxes. If you see a nice car in Israel,
Yeah, it's probably
large chance it's an Arab. Large chance. If you see, most Israeli Jews do not drive Mercedes, BMW, Tesla, whatever. You'll see Range Rovers, brand new AMG Mercedes. You'll even see Ferraris. You'll see, you'll see gorgeous cars that even people in the United States can't afford. Who's driving it? At least 50% of the time, probably more. It's an Arab Israeli.
yeah. I'm very familiar with this, but
Everybody knows this.
uh,
Everybody knows this.
so I think let's go back to the Jordanian thing. I think
Yeah.
this is what worries Jordanian. They think that the Israelis want to send the Palestinians to Jordan, and this is the worst thing you could tell the Jordanian because we already gave citizenship to 2.3 million of them, and they're the most horrific people. They protest. They all support the Muslim Brotherhoods. They hate Jordan. They truly hate Jordan. They hate Jordanians. They support Iran. They support the Houthis. They support all the Islamist groups because this is what gives them a legitimate reason to be in Jordan. Because if we did not have the Islamist politics way, why are we hosting the Palestinians inside Jordan? Even the citizenship that they got is not constitutional. Like it's just temporarily.
Right.
So the only reason why are they in Jordan is because of the Islamists are saying we're all one united Islamist caliphate. So that's why they support this kind of system and this kind of way of thinking because this is what make their stay in Jordan legitimate. So what is Jordanians is the Israelis want to send Palestinians to us, and this is what I tell Jordanians. I tell them, look, Israelis at the end are human. When we as Jordanians not communicating with Israelis, of course they're not going to work with us. Of course they're not going to know how we think. I tell the Jordanians, I tell them, look, we're 4 million. Zero Jordanian, true Jordanian, not a Palestinian Jordanian. Zero of us have talked to the Israeli media. How do you think the Israelis will work with you and now work with the Palestinians to move them there if you're not talking to them?
Right.
I tell them, look, you're saying they're enemy every time you say you attack them publicly, like not like an attack in a physical sense. It's just like you have a lot of hostile emotions towards the Israelis. So what do you expect them to say? I told them the Israelis do not know that we have the same problem with the Palestinians that they have. And they're not going to know it if we don't speak up. They're
Right.
not going to go through our mind and say, oh, actually, you guys do not like Hamas either. They're not going to know this. They're not going to know we do not like the Palestinians. We know that they're terrorists. We do not want to risk about the livelihood of our kids. They're not going to know this if we're not talking about it. And I was shocked that the Jordanians did not turn against me for going to the Israeli media. That was a really shocking thing because the majority of the Arabs that used to go to the Israeli media, no one can believe you again. Everybody can turn against you. Now, actually, Jordanians are incentivizing me. They're saying, yeah, go speak in English, go talk to them, tell them this is our opinion, tell them this is what we want, and let's build a bridge so we could communicate. And I think this is how we're going to solve the issue. We're going to say, look, you don't have to explain to a Jordanian why the Palestinians are a problem. This is why when I made the video about deporting them to 70 different countries, the relocation, every Jordanian agreed. Hundreds of thousands of views and tens of thousands of comments, everybody's agreeing. Because they know, they're on the ground, they see the Palestinians, they see Hamas. So I think when we make this movement and we build this bridge between the people of Jordan and the people of Israel, this is how we're going to solve the issue. And I have to tell you something. There's an issue with the Arab governments. This is in Jordan and Egypt specifically. They intentionally allows the Muslim Brotherhoods to take over colleges, take over the media, and spew anti-Semitic hatred and make the people anti-Israel, because then the governments could go to America and Israel and say, look, the people really hate you. The only reason why they're not attacking you is because of me. So don't overthrow me when I'm corrupt. Don't overthrow me when people are against me, because I'm the only way that I could protect you from the people. So they intentionally want the people to be anti-Semitic. They want the people to be Islamist and anti-Israel, because this is how they get a legitimacy to stay in power. I will give you an example. If an Israeli professor said we should have peace with Israel, as people, we should have peace to our cousins. This hatred is unacceptable. When Israel comes to visit Jordan, we should host them, because hosting and being generous is a very important thing to us as Jordanian. He will go to jail. But if a Muslim Brotherhood Palestinian who's doing citizenship say, oh, I want to declare jihad against Israelis, say this in college, he's going to get a lot of push from the government, and probably he will become in the parliament, because the government wants to make the people look like they're savages Islamists, because this is what gives it legitimacy to stay there, even if they're corrupt.
Right. So that's a big issue that you need, that the Arab world needs to fix, because that's
UAE have solved this issue. UAE, the people, not the government, the people are pro-Israel. The people themselves, because the government did not want them to be anti-Israel, and they fixed it in a few years. Trust me, with the amount of hatred that the Palestinians spew against all the Arabs, convincing the Arabs that Israelis are better than the Palestinians is not hard. It's not a hard mission. You could do it in 2 days for anyone. They could just see what they say, what these guys are saying, and
right.
they automatically the picture will form. The reason why we do not have peace between the people is because of the governments. And I think the governments are dumb. I think they could actually solve the issue and stay in power, but they're not smart. And we have an issue in Jordan that we have the 2.3 million Palestinians who have citizenships. These guys, they don't know what they want. They want to kick the Israelis out, but they also want to be Jordanians. And they also want to go back, but they also want to build the Ottoman Empire. And this is something that I always say. Ask any Palestinians, what do you want? He would not tell you, because they have 3 stages. Sometimes they tell you, just 2-state solution, 67 and we're fine. The same person, if you ask him again, will tell you from the river to the sea. And the same person who changed his opinion twice now, you ask him third time, he'll be like, we want to build an Islamic Ottoman Empire. And this is the same person. So they do not even know what they want. If you
Right.
go to Hamas leaders and you ask them, like, what do you actually want? They would not tell you. Because sometimes they say, we'll agree on 2-state solution, but not recognize Israel. Sometimes they say from the river to the sea. And sometimes they say, oh, we actually want to build an Islamic country.
Well, I wouldn't believe anybody from Hamas that said anything other than they wanted to, destroy the country
No, but
completely.
this is even the average citizen, the average Palestinian. If you go and ask him, the average Palestinian inside Israel, the average Palestinian in Gaza, the average Palestinian in Jordan, the average Palestinian in America, you tell them, look, tell me, what do you want? They would not tell you. They would tell
Right.
you these 3 different things that are very different, because this project is not serious. They're not looking for peace. They're not looking for dignity. They're not looking for a country. They're making a lot of money from UNRWA. They're making a lot of money from war, and they're very religiously fanatics. They want to kill the Israelis. That's the actual thing. It's not that they want a land. It's not that they want a country. They hate Israelis, and this hatred for Israelis, when get translated to terrorist attacks, they get benefited, and they get they get a lot of benefits from doing these things. So it's not going to
Right.
stop. It's not going to stop until the Arab countries get together and they say, you know what, the PA is not recognized anymore. We don't care about it. Jordanian Samaria, Gaza are Israelis. The Palestinians inside, you have 2 choices. You either live without a citizenship, you can't get married, you can't get a driver's license, or you get relocated in Indonesia, in Afghanistan, in Colombia. You
Right.
choose the country and you live your lifestyle there. This is the only way to solve the issue.
I completely agree. I completely agree. So we'll see what unfolds. I'm hoping to get an opportunity to speak to Bibi in person. No, I don't have the opportunity yet, but I'm hoping that I will. Because man, if I can say one thing, even just one thing that gets that man to think I think he's a good leader, but I'm saying if I can give him one thought-provoking idea that actually sticks, who knows? If I can make any kind of impact, because that man is capable of changing the course of
Oh
history.
yeah, yeah. He's very courageous.
So I'm
He
saying,
doesn't
just
listen.
if I as a young humble man, not known by most of people in the world, I don't have a huge following, and I don't have a massive level of power. I do believe that I can make changes in the world. I believe anybody can. So we'll see what happens. But one thing I want to ask you is, are you a religious practicing Muslim?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. People always like to say, there are peaceful Muslims, non-peaceful Muslims, Islamists, terrorists, etc. How do you defend Islam? And because there's components of Islam that are violent, and there are components of it, and there are components of Judaism that are violent, sure, but we're more reformed now.
I
If
would tell
if
you that's something really funny about Islam, and I
but
always talk about it.
but
Islam
Sam,
has
let me
a
just finish my
yeah.
question so this way the viewers can understand my full question. For example, there are Muslims like yourself that support Israel, which I believe is the right thing. I believe that even the Quran tells you to do that. But then there are hadiths. There's Bukhari, for example, that talks about the if I believe if it's I believe it's in
The end
Bukhari,
of times.
that talks about the end of times and the Garquad tree and the Jews and killing them. And it's like, for me, I'm a very critical thinking person. I have a hard time just trusting people when I as soon as I meet them, they just say things. I believe you. I do think that you're genuine. But when I look at Islam as a religion, and to me, it just seems that the people that are causing terrorism against my people are just following the Quran at face value, and the people that are not committing acts of violence against me or supporting those acts of violence are just saying, "Well, it says that in the Quran, but we're not really going to listen to it." This is how it seems to me.
But I'm gonna answer your question.
Okay.
The In October 7th, 40 fighters that fought with Hamas, they're actually from the Republic Front, which is a communist atheist party in Gaza. 40 of them were there fighting against the Jews, and these guys are atheists and communists. The terrorist group that hijacked the Israeli Olympic team in 1970, this guy was a Christian. So the Palestinian identity, yeah, Islam plays a big part, but I think even the atheists, even the Christians are anti-Semitic too.
Mm-hmm.
And the Palestinian identity is built um, on hating Israel. It doesn't matter if the religious part does factor and help the culture, but also the culture in every aspect is anti-Israeli. So that's
Okay.
why even the atheists, even the communists, even the Christians are also celebrating October 7th. They want to do these things. They did a lot of terrorist attacks before, and it's very insane. But about Islam, well, Islam does not have a church. There's nobody telling you what's right and what's wrong. So everything is up to interpretation, and we don't have like a rabbi or a pope. No one could claim that they know the truth and you don't. This is a very unique thing about
So
Islam.
an
It's
imam
not
and a sheikh don't have that ability?
the sheikh is not an official thing. The sheikh is just like something you could call yourself, even if you're not a sheikh. It just means you're a respected person. It could go to a tribe leader. You could say a tribe leader is a sheikh, even though that he's not religious. So a sheikh is just a thing
Okay.
where it's just telling you you're a respected person. But
And an
there's
imam?
nobody, yeah, there's nobody telling you this is a rabbi, this is a pope. We don't
Right.
have this like centralized thing. Uh, in Islam, there's a lot of different views, and this is very funny because I was reading. There's a famous way of Islam called Hanifa. Abu Hanifa is a really famous Islamic scholar who was born in the 800s. He said if a Muslim broke a cross or any religious symbol for anyone who's not a Muslim in a Muslim country, they have to pay money for this person, and the Muslim who broke the stuff, they have to get punished. So he has to pay reparations for the cross or the religious symbol that he broke, and he has to pay reparations for this person, and he has to be punished by the government. Another Muslim scholar in his time, he said if a Muslim broke any other religious symbol, cross, or anything else in public, in a Muslim country, he's good. He cannot pay reparations. He cannot be forced to apologize, or he cannot be apologized to get
Mm-hmm.
punished. And both scholars had their hadiths and they had their evidence. But you see, there's different, like totally different things. One tells you you're going to get punished if you attack any religious symbol from any another religion in public, and another guy that tells you no, you could do it. So you see, it's completely contradictory. But they both have their evidence. They both have hadith, and this is the thing about Islam. You could pick and choose. You could pick the way. But there is no official way to think in Islam. You know.
Yeah, but then it just kind of, I'm not going to sit here and get into a religious debate with you, but that kind of just makes it sound like an illegitimate religion. If there's so many, meaning if you can think about, we have different ways of Jews have different ways of celebrating culture. You have Jews from Yemen and Jews from Germany, but we all kind of have to follow the same laws, more or less.
You see, this is the difference in like the way that you pray. It's identical. The way how you become a Muslim. There's four things. So you have to believe that Allah and Muhammad are the Prophet and Allah the only God. You have to pray. You have to go to Mecca at least once. You have to fast, and you have to pay tax.
Right.
This is how you become a Muslim. Nothing else. So if you want to be a Muslim, do these other things. Everything else extra is just debate. It's up for debate. So those are the fundamentals. Everything else, it's up for debate. And after Khomeini came and after the Iranian Revolution happened, the Muslim world have become more radical. So that did happen. And people start looking at the more radical things and thinking, oh, the more radical thing is better because it's more radical. So they start changing to this. But that was not the case in the whole history. But yeah, to be a Muslim, those are the 5 things you have to believe in. So it's a very, general thing, and everything else up for debate. And I think this is the duty of the governments. Why there's no terrorists in UAE? They're Muslims, they're Arabs. There's no terrorism there. There's no radicals in there. Why? Because the government there wants the mosques and wants the colleges to teach the kind of Islam that's very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. They have evidence for it. People are peaceful. There's no terrorism there. No one is attacking the tourists that go there. No one is attacking the women who are not wearing hijab. No one is attacking the people who are not Muslims in UAE. But you have an example in Hamas in Gaza, was like the most radical people on earth. So you could pick and choose. It's up for the government. It's a tool that you could use.
Hold on, sorry, I just got something in my.
Yeah.
It's very. It makes a lot of sense. It's a very good answer. It's a very
But
good
with
answer.
the Palestinians, I'm telling you, it's not just religion because you probably know about the 1970 the Olympic team that got hijacked in Berlin.
Yeah, of course.
This guy was a Christian. All the team that did the hijacking was a Muslim, was a like a Catholic Christian arm, and they're from Catholic families, but they became atheists
Yeah.
and communists. So the Palestinians is very unique because even the culture value these things. This is what I'm
The
telling you.
problem is
You can
the
have peace with
problem
these
is
people.
they are a like vast majority of them are Muslim.
Yeah,
Islam
95%,
is
yeah.
Islam is the superior religion there and really controls everything. And the neighboring countries that have an issue with us are Muslim. So the reason why Israelis and Jews are focused on Muslims as their enemies is because they much more so are.
It's very reasonable. It's very reasonable, especially
Yeah.
when like I'm not denying the anti-Semitism in the Muslim world.
I,
It's
I,
very
I also
unfortunate.
I also think it's a reform thing. I think
Yeah.
most Christians in the world,
Uh,
even if there's anti-Jewish rhetoric in the Bible and the New Testament, they're not following for the most
they're
part.
reformed, yeah.
They're reformed, and Jews have too. There's violent components in Judaism too. I think the Muslim world still has a long way to go
I think
in
UAE is doing a good
reforming.
job. The
Huh?
UAE program, the
I agree.
UAE,
I
they're
very
doing a
much
good
agree.
job.
I
I
very
think
much
we
agree.
should all work under the umbrella that they're working on. And they have Muslim scholars. They're just using a better way, a more advanced, more modern way. Uh, so that's why they're very hated by the Palestinians. The Palestinians hate the Emiratis more than they hate Israelis. They're the most hated country for
Right.
the Palestinians in the UAE because they're successful. They're building their own country. There's no terrorism there. They're getting more advanced. They have a good relationship with India, China, the West, Israel, and that really gives an example for the Arab nations. Look, you have two directions: either become like a Gaza or southern Lebanon, or become like UAE. And no one's saying gonna choose Gaza other than the Palestinians and the radical Iranians because they're
Right.
religious fanatics.
Right.
That's mainly the thing. But I really want you to say, I really want the people who listen to us, and I want you to do it too. Don't give an inch when we talk about dismantling and destroying the Palestinian terrorism, because you are not just your issue is not just the 100 people that they hijacked and kidnapped. Your issue is the safety of the people that live in Israel for the future, the people who live in Jordan for the future. This is what we're talking about. We want to make
100%.
sure does not happen again. It's like if the Palestinians are drug addicts and we keep giving them drugs. What do you think is going to happen? He's going to end up with an overdose. That's what's going to happen. So it's a tough love to do the relocation program and to like kind of force them and be a little tough. It's a tough love that will be really beneficial for the Palestinian kids. The
It's true.
Palestinian
It's
kids are
true.
forced to sacrifice their life and sacrifice their childhood because their parents are so anti-Semitic that they hate
Yeah,
Israel
yeah,
more than
yeah.
they love their own kids.
So true. It's just a question of whether the Israeli side is going to have the balls to actually do what needs to be done.
They
But
can't do it alone without the Arab help. That's why I
right.
speak up. I start talking after October 7th because I know it was my duty to talk, especially after
Wow.
I see them ripping the posters of the kidnapped people. I had to start making videos and talk about it because it was insane. It was ridiculous. It was very hateful and very harmful. It's bad for the Arabs and bad for the Israelis. It's bad for everybody. So
Right.
I started speaking up because it's our duty to do it. And there's no limit to where we can reach, which kind
Hmm.
of relationship, which kind of development, which kind of advancement. There's nothing limits us except what we think it limits us. So it's our part to speak up. It's our duty to speak up, and it's our duty to defend this thing, as if your family is gonna get kidnapped by Gaza, by fighters in Gaza, and you do not want to let this thing happen. And here's the thing: where they say, "Oh, it's just Hamas," or or they say only 54% voted for Hamas. Even the people who support the PA and Fatah and the liberal ones, they still support terrorism. The last four hostages they got freed in Gaza, they were kidnapped and held by a doctor in a refugee camp. And this doctor was a civilian. So
Hmm.
everyone inside the refugee camp knew there was an Israeli hostage. The
Right.
doctor who works with the UN, who's a doctor, he's not dumb, he's not radical religious, he's a doctor. He
Right.
studied abroad. This guy knew that there were people. He was holding people inside his refugee camp.
Right.
Everyone in the refugee camp knew, and they didn't say anything. And the doctor did help Hamas kidnapping these people. So that tells you which kind of society you're working with. So we can't lie and say it's a small minority. No, this is the general idea of the Palestinians. This is how they think. When they
Right.
start building the tunnels in Gaza, I remember because I was young. The Palestinians were happy that they were sending their kids from school to build the tunnels as a school program. Everyone
Hmm.
in the city in Gaza knew that they were building tunnels for weapons and war. Everybody knew, and no one said anything. No one attacked them. So when a society that sees the terrorists taking over and the terrorists building their weapons and the terrorists trying to attack, and they aid these terrorists and they help these terrorists and they uh, harvest these terrorists, what that makes them a terrorist too.
Totally.
When you see someone build a tunnel, you go help him. When you see someone smuggle a gun, you help him. When
You're
you
an
see someone
accomplice.
building
You're
a
an
rocket, you
accomplice. Yeah.
help him. Yeah, you are public. Like the Hamas would not be able to do it if the Palestinians did not want to.
100%.
So I think Israel is going a little too nice, and I think Israel needs the Arab world to speak up, even as it is going to be also an emotional push and a very incentive to the Israelis to keep going. When the Israelis starts look, because I noticed this when I start talking, a lot of liberal Israelis change their mind when they listen to me because they're not listening to an Israeli, they listen to Arab. They say, you know what? Yeah, actually, he's making this. They get out of this delusion that the UN is letting them let in, that they're hated, And they start saying, you know what?
That's
Actually,
so
yeah, we're
true.
brave. We're helping everybody. We're defeating terrorism. When they see
It's
their
so
neighbors
true.
broken, that's what we
You
need.
you could see, you and I can say the same thing, but they're gonna hold what your liberal Jews will listen to you a lot more than me because you're
Yeah.
the enemy. You are saying what they really need to hear, and they're just not gonna take it from me.
They're not gonna assume you because you assume you're racist, you hate Islam. That's what they assume. But when they hear from the people who live there, the people who get affected by the Palestinian terrorism, they'll be like, yeah. And I've noticed this. A lot of them have changed after what I've said in my lives and my videos and my interviews. A lot of them they did change, because here's the thing: you could be lazy, and you could be. Saying that you want a two-state solution is being lazy and being selfish, because you know it's not going to happen, and you're risking everybody's life. So if you actually want to feel good, if you actually want to be peaceful, you want to have a relocation program to fair countries that they're going to go to and live happily, and you're going to do this program with the Arabs, so they can't isolate Israel. If
Right.
Jordan, Saudi, Morocco, UAE does this with Israel, the relocation program, they can't isolate Israel for united. They're not going to cut off 7 countries at the same time, and they're not going to see it's Muslims against Israelis or Muslims against Jews. It's not going to work that way. It's going to
Right.
work people of the Middle East against radicals in the Middle East.
It's a very good point. So Sam, just to ask another question, what do you in general, how do you view Jewish people? That's a funny question, but I've always wanted to ask someone like you that question.
Well, I have a nice pharmaceutical company. A lot of my clients are Jews, and I love Jews in America because I feel like I'm in Jordan. They're very Middle Easterns. We have the same culture. How like people don't get embarrassed by seeing jokes, how everybody's generous, how very touchy, yeah, the way that we shake hands, the way we laugh, the way we scream in public. It's Jews are very Middle Eastern. Jews, Armenians, and Arabs and Persians are almost identical.
Hmm.
We have less that makes us different than what we actually have in common. And I really like it makes me feel like home. It makes me feel like, oh, this guy is from my region. I look at Jews and I look at Armenians a different way because, oh, this is like a Middle Eastern like me. Like this guy understands me. They look like me. They think like me. They're, and this is a unique thing that only the Middle East has. We're very spiritual that their religion affects everything. No one else asks if the food is kosher or halal other than us. Like no one actually care about their religion as much as we do. Like you could see the spirituality in God working in the life of us. So when we talk to people from other races, they don't understand this, but Jews do, because we have a very similar. I like it's a very similar culture, and I actually think even if America stopped being a superpower and stopped supporting Israel, I would want Israel to be in my border because they're a very important part of the Middle East. The Middle Eastern identity is the Arab, is the Armenians, is the Kurd, is the Jews. It's all of us coming together. This is what makes it unique. This is what makes it the best region in the world. This is why it's the most epic region in the world, because we have all these differences and all these debates and all this talk about religion, but we also could coexist and live fine. I always
Right.
get really sad and I get disappointed when I see what happens to the Jews in Syria, Jews in Iraq, Jews in Yemen, it's and Jews in Egypt. It's very, I feel really disappointed, and I feel ashamed with what the Arabs did to the Jews there. People
Yeah.
who lived there together for thousands of years, now just because the Palestinians want something, you kick them out. I feel really ashamed. I will tell you something funny you don't know. There's the most loyal person in the Arab history. We have a saying for the name of the most loyal man in history. His name is Simuel. He's a Jewish Arab, and this guy he lived before Muhammad, and he was so loyal that a guy came to him and gave him his weapons and told him, "Hold my weapons till I come back." And the people who were following this guy, like the people who wanted to kill this guy that ran away and left his weapons, they came to the house of the Jewish guy that has the weapons. And his kid was outside. So they took his kid and they told him, "Give us this guy weapon and we're going to give you your kid."
Hmm.
And the Jewish guy said, "No." They said, "We'll kill your kid." And he's like, "You could kill my kid. I do not want to betray a guy that trusted me." And this is a very famous Arab saying and an Arab story about how Jews were loyal. Like this is like Jews are part of the Arab identity. They're
Right. But then
neighbors for a long
then
time.
there's also the Khaybar story.
Yeah, yeah. It's a, like they are a part of every single Arab city, even in Levant, even in southern Saudi, in Najran, even in Yemen, even in the east part of Saudi, Dammam, Bahrain. These areas have a Jewish history, and they're just a part of the Middle Eastern identity. We can't deny this. It's a part of the reason why I'm thinking this way. It's just because Jewish and Muslims 1,000 years ago lived together and developed this identity. Like the influence of Jews on the Islamic culture is very massive. It's very big, especially at the beginning.
Hmm. Well, by the way, I was mentioning the Khaybar thing because you were talking about how this Jew is loyal, but Muslims a lot like to recount the story of how supposedly the Jews betrayed Muhammad, right?
That's not what happened. But they did not betray him. They were against him. That's not betrayal.
Right.
Like the story is just the Jews sided with the other infidels or with the pagans against the Muslims. And I think this is very expected because the pagans didn't want to kill the Jews and the Muslims did. So it's not betrayal, but they say betrayal because, oh, we're both believing God and these guys are pagan. This is the reason why they think it's a betrayal. But what happened is Jews allied with the pagans because the pagans were less of a threat than the Muslims.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, Sam, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, it was a very fun conversation. I had a really good time, and I'm insisting on this, guys. Don't give up. When you talk about the hostages, you're not just talking about 100 people. You're talking about 7 million Jews who are at the risk of being kidnapped, tortured, and killed. So don't give up an inch. It's your duty to destroy Hamas, and it's the duty of the Arab nations to go publicly and support Israel, and even send troops to Gaza.
Wow. Wow. Sam, you're
We'll
an
stay in
amazing
touch,
guy.
and
You're
we'll
not
we'll do more
you're
things.
not just the baby, you're the man. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. If I was next to you now, I'd give you a huge hug and a kiss on the cheek.
We
You're
we will. This yeah, we'll meet for sure. We'll meet for
I look
sure.
forward to meeting you, brother.
Yeah,
You're a great
I'm
guy.
really optimistic about the next 4 years, and I'm not stopping till I change the things on the ground. And I think we start doing this, and just talking and exposing the facts and finding the propaganda is more important than anything else.
For sure. For sure. For sure.
It was very fun seeing you.
Yes, it's really an honor having you. I'm looking forward to this episode coming out. It'll be out Tuesday. We're gonna make some reels too. So you don't really use Instagram, you said. I'm gonna post it on Instagram,
Yeah,
but
I'll call you. Yeah.
post it on Twitter, post it anywhere you have social media, get it out there. Even if you can I'm gonna send you the episode as well. And if you want to make your own clips, maybe you want to do a live on Twitter,
Most of my
TikTok,
followers are
whatever.
in Arabic, but I think the captions will work.
They'll work. Yeah,
But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm telling you, I'm really optimistic with the next 4 years.
I hope. Yeah, as
And
am I. As am I.
I think it's our chance to like get it over with.
I hope so. I hope so. Because if, yeah, let's see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Uh, I'm gonna you throw in your handles, your social media. Where can they find you?
I have TikToks, Instagram, and Twitter. They're the same username, my last name and letter one.
Okay.
They will find it easily.
Yeah, they'll find
Well,
it, and
I'll
also
leave some
I'll put it
comments
in the
under the
description.
video. Yeah, I'll leave
Sure.
some comments under the video too.
For sure. Oh wait, so you do use Instagram?
Yeah, but I don't post. It's more of a public thing. I don't use it for content.
Got it. Got it. Got it. All
Yeah.
right, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, thank you again for joining. Real estate, you know who to talk to. Would love to get in touch and help you out. This has been another episode. This is either going to be the 199th or the 200th episode. Just depends on some editing. We're probably going to put this as did I do well, no, this is probably going to be episode 200 of my podcast, Sam. So
My honor.
it's
Really
it's
good
pretty
episode.
amazing, man.
Yeah.
200 episodes of the Soothing Semantics podcast. So that is that. All righty, guys. Until next time, peace.